I actually went on the road after the Cold Spring Harbor album was released. I got a job in a piano bar as Bill Martin at the keyboards, playing at the executive room, which is basically just a bar with a piano in it. The customers would come in after they'd lose at the track and they'd drink their troubles away. And I was the piano player. And I realized at the time, man, I don't want to do this the rest of my life, but I'm definitely going to get a song out of this, which I did, which became Piano Man. Travelin Prayer from the Piano Man album, 1973. I wanted to write a piece of music that had a lot of bluegrass movement in it. I play a certain style of piano sometimes. I call it banjo fingers, where I'm playing 30-second notes, which are like a banjo player would pick. A lot of notes. It's got a lot of rhythm in it, and but it basically is playing a chord progression. And Travelin Prayer was that kind of song. I'm playing banjo fingers. We even got Eric Weisberg to play the banjo. We also had, the band was the Sons of the Pioneers, who was playing this, which is the guys who played, they were the Roy Rogers band. When Roy Rogers were recording and making records, he had this band called the Sons of the Pioneers, and they were in Los Angeles. And that's who we used: fiddle player, banjo player, guitar player, drummer, the whole 9 yards. It was pretty cool. Piano Man. That's really a straight ahead telling of a job I had. I worked in a piano bar in Los Angeles back in the early 70s, 71, 72. I wrote the song in 73. And the characters in the bar were real characters. There was John at the bar was the bartender. Paul was a real estate broker who was writing the great American novel, according to him. There was a guy in the Navy called Davy. That was his name. I didn't make this up. These were the real characters. The waitress was my girlfriend at the time, later became my wife. And people did say to me when I was there, "Man, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?" I wasn't a famous guy, but they asked me, "What am I doing there?" Because I said, "Well, because this is my job. That's what I'm doing here." So it was a real story. I actually went on the road after the Cold Spring Harbor album was released. I got a job in a piano bar as Bill Martin at the keyboards, playing at the executive room, which is basically just a bar with a piano in it. The customers would come in after they'd lose at the track and they'd drink their troubles away. And I was the piano player. And I realized at the time, man, I don't want to do this the rest of my life, but I'm definitely going to get a song out of this, which I did, which became Piano Man. You're My Home was on the Piano Man album. I didn't have any money to buy a present. And I think it was Valentine's Day, and I didn't have the money to buy anything. So I wrote a song called You're My Home, and that was the present. And that's still how I feel about somebody in your relationship with. If you're really comfortable with them and you love that person and they make you feel like you're home, then you are home. I'm playing the piano like a string instrument, like a guitar. Gives rhythm to the song and moves it along, and it also makes for interesting notes, but they're basically broken up chords where I'm doing different rhythms with. I always wanted to write a Western movie soundtrack like The Magnificent Seven. It's one of my favorite compositions done by Elmer Bernstein. And I was living on the West Coast at the time, and I kept thinking of this Western soundtrack like Magnificent Seven. So I wrote a couple of themes that I wanted to use in a song, and it would start out like. Good guys writing. And then the melody goes very Western sounding. See how it all ties in. Worst comes to worst, the follow-up single to Piano Man. The song was pretty much autobiographical. It was right before I got the job at the piano bar in LA. I left New York when I realized I was in a horrible deal with the Already Ripped thing, and I drove across country to go to Los Angeles. I'll write my songs on my road guitar and make a living in a piano bar. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. Stop in Nevada. Well, this is my attempt to write kind of a Jimmy Webb kind of song, kind of a country western, as they would say, songs that they used to record in L.A. in the late '60s and early '70s. I don't remember if I used and I tried to do an accent when I sang this. You always found it hard to take her. She wouldn't listen to advice. And though he never tried to make her, who was that guy? There was he did a song, Behind Closed Doors. My baby makes me proud. Lord, don't she make me proud. Charlie Rich. And I wanted to write a song in that kind of vein, whether somebody like Charlie Rich did it or not. I wanted to try my hand at that. I'm always trying my hand at something. Captain Jack was what I call a Look Out the Window song. I wrote it in the early 70s. I was living in an apartment in Oyster Bay. And there was the low-income housing right across the street. And I would look out my window and I'd see these kids driving up from these North Shore towns like Syosset or Cold Spring Harbor, and they were scoring drugs at the place across the street. I didn't get it. I said, well, these kids, they obviously come from affluent families. What did they need to be doing there? They were scoring smack, heroin. This is back in the early 70s. And it's kind of a judgmental song. But I was just intrigued by this whole culture that was going on with why do rich white kids need to score heroin from low-income families? But they were. And it's happening again. I see there's a lot of heroin problems now where I come from. And it's happening with younger kids. So it's a continuing issue.